Good evening.
Right, guys.
How you doing? Welcome along to our podcast, Solas Inspirational Chat. Tonight we have the wonderful Dave Mahoney, whom we are sure most people know. David has been over to see us here at our healing cabin in Arklow, and we've had a few pints of Guinness together and long chats together, and
Yeah,
it's great. It's great to see him again, and we'll try and persuade him to come back because he's always very welcome.
Definitely. Actually, before we jumped on the Zoom, Dave, I was saying to Michael, when is the next barbecue? We have to invite Dave. So Dave,
I'll definitely try to make it. I had a good time last time in Ireland. I haven't got any immediate plans, but Ireland's always top of my list, you know. I've got a wedding to go to in Scotland in August, so I could sort of make a little pit stop in there. So how have you been, guys?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
We're good. We're waiting for the sunshine to join us. I know it's the 1st of July, Dave, but I don't know. I think the sunshine is still down in Spain. Would you send some up to us?
You can have as much as you want. We're getting kind of tired of it already. It gets very hot quickly here. It's still in the high 30s, you know. I was curious, though. I was curious about the general feeling. I watch Ireland as a particular country of interest of mine. I watch very closely what's going on. I follow the politics. And I've got a lot of friends and not so much family now, but good, decent old friends. And I'm saying, well, how's it going? But I'm curious because they're not all awake as much as I know you two are. So I'm curious about the feeling and atmosphere in Ireland now. What's it like?
Being honest with you, Dave, it's not good. There's a lot of scaremongering. There's a lot of people who won't go into the city, so won't go into Dublin. They won't go into Cork, Limerick, Waterford, because the level of non-nationals, and I'm being polite, that are in the cities and are roaming the streets because they have nothing to do. They're roaming in gangs and intimidating people. Girls have been warned not to go out unless they're dressed from head to toe. It's almost like, you know, before you go into say Marrakesh, into one of the markets there, you have to dress from head to toe, and that's what it's getting like in
I don't even think Morocco is that dangerous, you know. But you know what, guys, I've watched this really carefully because I've got dual nationality, and if anybody asks me, I say I'm Irish. I've always identified with being Irish. My personality is way more Irish than it would be English. Not that I've got anything against the Brits. I've got great friends there. I travel there a lot. But I've watched it. What happened in Ireland? I mean, I saw it happen during COVID. They were shutting places down and, you know, staying in the homes. But I couldn't believe the Irish took it. I was making jokes at times. So, oh yeah, try to close the pubs down in Ireland and see what will happen. You know, you can take a lot of things away from the paddies, but you know, try to take away the crack and a pint in the pub with the pals. But I was so surprised how they just rolled over and said, "Oh well, okay then, if this is for the good of the nation." But I think the whole plot is a lot more sinister in that, because Ireland has got such sacred roots as the heart chakra of the world. You know, it's not by accident. It was the educational center from all of the Middle Ages. They call it the Dark Ages, but I don't really like that termination. And now, with the stopping of the social gathering, so you weren't allowed to go to the pub, no singing, no groups together. They stopped all the Irish music. And again, surprised how much the Irish took it. And now with this immigration situation, I'm absolutely flabbergasted at how much all these immigrants have put into it. But they put them into places, in deliberate places. Like I know Killarney, for many people that have been to Ireland or would like to go to Ireland, Killarney is one of the biggest tourist towns in the country. You know, you'll go to Dublin, you'll land there, you'll have a couple of days in Dublin, but inevitably everybody ends up in Killarney. Now, this is a huge attraction for ancestral Irish that are coming back from the States and Australia or wherever. And now you can't book a hotel room there because they've been filled up with immigrants. Now, these guys are not integrating. Their English isn't great. They're hanging around exactly like you say on the cell phones and tracksuits. And then you've got the old people that can't get doctor's appointments because all they're doing is going in there trying to get every single medical thing that they've ever heard or tested for, because now all of a sudden they've got free medical attention. But I don't think Ireland is lost, guys, because the Celtic warrior is still in there. Just people are frightened to talk about it. Jesus, don't say anything now. You might upset them. It's time to upset people. It's time. And I've seen the demonstrations in Dublin. I've seen people coming out. You do have some of the young fellas now saying, you know, this isn't right. We're not doing it. Our daughters, the mothers are fighting hard as well. So I don't think Ireland's lost. And don't take this the wrong way. I think England's Germany, Belgium, France, Holland, Italy, I mean, northern parts of Spain, all lost because of this Islamic push that they're going in. They're trying to de-Christianize everything. You know, we've lived in peace and harmony with many different cultures. For example, Indian people, then when they first started coming, and West Indian from the Caribbean, they lived in England since the 50s after the war. And they're relatively, I know the Indians are very peaceful. They educate the kids, they're all dentists, doctors, lawyers, but they're not interested in trying to de-Christianize the land that they sit in or they stand on. But this immigration problem, the Islam, is not mixing well at all. No, you know, live and let live. I believe in that. And I've got Muslim friends and we all get on great. And I've been to many Muslim countries and they're very nice people. Honestly, they'll invite you in and give you the last piece of bread. Even a couple of months ago, I was in Egypt and Istanbul, and they're nice, they're friendly and nice, but this is a deliberate attempt to de-purify the Irish bloodline, I think. That's my feeling about it.
I agree.
The culture.
Yes, definitely.
Our ex-prime minister, or pretend prime minister, because we technically don't have a government, Leo Varadkar, who's of Indian descent, he had a 2040 agenda by which time the Irish would be a minority in our own country. And
it's terrible.
You saw he was Indian. You had what's his name, Rishi Sunak in London. You had your man up in Scotland, and it was all Indian and Pakistanis. And it's like they're being drafted in. We know where it's coming from. It's coming from the WEF. For Ireland, it's coming through the EU. England did a great thing with Brexit and getting out, but they still sort of they're
doesn't matter.
At the end of it.
Oh, I'm turning on my air conditioning. It doesn't matter because, you know, England already had such a large population.
Yeah,
it's never going to be able to reverse it, but Ireland still has an opportunity to. Now, look, I don't want to turn this into some racist rant because that's not me at all. I'll break bread with anybody. I don't care. But what I do believe in is you've got to respect the wishes of the country that you live in. Like, I'm not going to start, you know, going to Egypt and walking down with a great big crucifix on my shirt and, you know, trying to close down mosques and convert them to churches.
Yeah.
In Cairo, for example, the Christians live in harmony with the Muslims. They have a church very close to where the mosques are. Live and let live. They're not like that. But these young men of military age have been placed there deliberately to be menacing and intimidating. And they're basically all just waiting for the green light. But I hope and pray that Ireland, the national bloodline, and being proud of the Irish Celtic line, will rise up and make sense to people, saying, listen, we're not having this. Yeah. Because all we need now is a bit of a change of government. And I think we're getting very close to the end. Yeah. Because if you look at all these different countries, we're all getting sick of it. A lot of the countries are turning to right wing. Italy, for an example, is one. That recently, France, Macron's out, you know, there's more and more support for France to be stabilized because cities now, Paris, it doesn't look like Paris anymore. Rome, Venice is even bad. All the tourists are telling me that these cities that they've dreamed of going to, you know, Paris is turning into a ghetto because there's that many homeless people living on the streets coming in from these African countries. And the government just seems to oh, well, it's scorch and burn, if you ask me. They know they're on the way out. So they're just like a spoiled brat, just trying to throw all the toys out the pram and leave nothing for when the next people of any pure soul get in there and say, listen, I'm going to do something that's good for the country, not what's good for me or what's good for the World Economic Forum.
Yeah, I agree. And like we had a referendum here recently, which was there were two referenda run on the same day, and the government promoted a yes vote for a change of the constitution and stuff. And in one of them, they were defeated by 75%, and the other one, they were defeated by 64%.
Well, that's promising.
Local elections, the government parties didn't do very well. A lot of independents did well. So it looks like they're going to call a general election here sometime in October. But what they'll do just beforehand is they'll announce a budget where it'll be a giveaway budget to the middle classes to try and keep them quiet, because that's where the power is. The power is with the middle classes to change things, because we don't technically have a class system in Ireland, but the working class are the ones that stood up against the whole all the lockdowns when they were bringing in water charges and water meters. They didn't go near any of the working class areas because they knew that they get their asses kicked.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's trying to get the people there to get out and to do something. And as you know, we've discussed before, the women are great, the women are getting out, the men aren't as good at. And like we've been to protests.
Yeah.
Part of our issue here is our national broadcaster and Virgin and a couple of the others are fed by the government, and they're propaganda machine for the government. So we had a protest recently. There was over 10,000 people in Dublin, and RTE, which is the national broadcaster, said 300 people turned up.
Yeah, and they were doing that right throughout COVID, just garbage propaganda from government paid puppets that have access to a microphone or a television camera.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the power of social media now. This is why it's important that people do take their phones with them and film it and put it up there.
Yeah.
But I have been watching it. But out of all the countries in Europe, I think Ireland's probably the only one that's got a good chance of gaining it back, because the population and the percentages are very low. But as we come towards this election in November, I think whatever's happening in the States is going to filter down through.
Definitely.
So I'm very hopeful in that, you know, and I still hold faith, and I can feel that there is changes in hand.
Yeah.
You know, I saw a good T-shirt the other day, and it says, "I might be old, but I remember when before the world went to shit."
Very good, very good.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, we actually, you saw the T-shirt the last night we did a chat with you. So we got a friend of ours. So it said, "The light has won, love has won, we are one." So we have 7 different designs. So we got them put onto T-shirts. And recently, Julie and I were in Glastonbury the weekend before last, and walked around through the crowds, and you could see people reading them, and people actually took photographs, and it's to get it into the collective consciousness.
You're right. But this whole feeling, this collective consciousness is growing. You know, I'm having people saying things to me now, like, I'm trying to think of a good one. When will all the madness end? When are we going to return to how it used to be, Mahoney? And these are people that were just like before very complacent.
Yeah.
And of course, the jab situation now, with more and more people coming out with that and realizing it's a total farce. If you think back of how stupid people were, saying, okay, so I have to be terrified of a disease that doesn't show me any symptoms.
Yeah.
You want me to take a chemical product in my body that doesn't stop me getting it and doesn't stop me spreading it. And they want me to put a covering over my face that says on the box that does not protect me. You know, it's like they attack the common sense of people through the media, throwing it at you constantly and being socially bullied into doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
people screaming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually good evidence now, guys, that they're going to start this N1 flu virus as well. They're going to try to start pushing that as we get closer to November. But from what I'm reading on social media, the general feeling is, and this is coming from people that I've never followed before, it's just, there's the answers, there's the feeds. It won't work because we're wise to it now.
Yeah.
The stupid have now woken up and become wise to it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And being honest with you, you know, you were over with us, and we have our healing cabin here on our land. And part of the reason that came into being was because at the time people couldn't get together. You know, you couldn't use a public place or whatever. So we decided the best thing to do was to create something which was on our land, and we could organize stuff and people to come together, and nobody could step on our toes.
Yeah.
It's we had our birthday, our second birthday there a couple of months ago, and we're, you know, trying to promote people to come in, sit down, have a chat. We see what you need. We offer different modalities. Julie go through a couple of them now with you, and it's just to be of service, which is why I believe we're here at this time, and why we're in Éire or in Ireland, because we've chosen to come here. We've chosen a lovely part of the country to be in, as you know, because you were here.
Nice, yeah.
And it's amazing to see people. A lot of the locals were very slow and skeptical, but they're starting to come around slowly. We run events and people come from all over the country to them, which is really wonderful, you know. And it's to just get people, like-minded people or like-minded souls in the same place, and to support each other, you know, and then to go out, and all those people who've gone down the other route, it's to show them compassion, understanding and love. and plant seeds. And the more seeds you plant, it's amazing what grows and what people come back to you with, you know?
Definitely, yes. At this stage, Dave, we feel the tide has turned
Oh.
because we don't look at the media. We switched off the TV a long time ago. But the people we connect with, we're connected with so many humanitarian groups here in Éire, because we call it Éire, not Ireland, not Angerland. Because as you said, Éire is the color of green, the heart chakra, love, and we have this fantastic ancient civilization. But the Irish spirit is rising. And on St. Brigid's Day, the 1st of February, we finally got a National Saints Day for Brigid, the goddess. The sun shone, it was amazing. And so we had maybe 35 people came together to celebrate Brigid's Day, to do a ceremony. And then on Tara for the solstice, we had 56 people. The energy was palpable, Dave. Sure, Michael and I have decided we don't need to sleep that much anymore. So we're aware that there is a change and people are connecting. So as you say, on social media, there are so many interconnections now, and even being able to chat to you in sunny Spain, it's amazing. Sure, you even came to Ishnok. I remember we all met up with Mark.
It was brilliant that day. What a place.
And it was, and Lucy, and the energy there was amazing. So there's an energy on our land, which is bringing and empowering people. And yes, Mike and I have so much hope, and even getting a chance to chat to you, sure, this is amazing. It's wonderful. So we have tremendous hope, and the right people through synchronicity are all coming together. And there are new, as Michael said, new politicians, new leaders stepping forward, independent leaders. The protests are happening. The tide is turning. So we have tremendous hope now.
Yeah, and like you say, love really is the only answer. I try to make people understand, well, I explain it to people, say, look, have you ever been in a road rage situation where the guy's waving his arms around and your instinct to say, you know, what's your problem? You get into it. I said, put the window down and say, hey, I'm so sorry. Did I do something that wind you up? Did I accidentally cut you off? I'm not in a hurry. Please go. You're obviously busy. You got a school run or something. And immediately you'll defuse it by answering it with love. And honestly, 10 times out of 10, they go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just having a bad day. No, you go ahead, you go, you know. Yeah. It's so amazing and make a conscious effort to do it. And you'll find that it does answer that, because most people are having the day created because they're either there's too much time or they're under pressure and they're full of fear. If I don't get to work, I'm going to get fired. If I get fired, I can't pay the mortgage. If I can't pay the mortgage, I'm not going to have anywhere to live. It's all fear generated, this energy.
Yeah.
But Ireland is a place where, you know, the energy was always like, well, yeah, don't worry about it, you know, have another pint. Come on, what's the worst that can happen, you know? And that energy, it seeps up out of the very ground that you're in. And it's the only place I feel at home. You know, going back to Ireland, it's roaming around the beautiful countryside. Doesn't matter if it's raining to me. It's just a nice place. And you guaranteed always have a bit of crack, wandering in a pub or wandering in the, you know, corner shop, and the person's always got a little comment to say. It's a very unique place, and look at it exactly where it is. It's the last place as you head west. You know, as you're leaving continental Europe, you're heading to the States. There's Ireland, all by itself, and the colors. You know, I was driving yesterday, and I had a girl in the car with me, and she said, "Is this what Ireland is like?" And I looked out the window. It was a golf course. I said, "No." She said, "But that's green." I said, "Yeah, but that's not Irish green." I said, "That's golf green." I said, like an Esmeralda. As in, when you're flying in the green there, you'll never see it anywhere else in the world. So I think that resilience that you're talking about, that's in the genetic DNA of the people.
Yeah.
They just need to come out of this because they're clouded. And as the fog clears, you can see clearly. I think they're going to see it, you know. I can't see them, you know, they're not going to grab these immigrants by the neck and throw them into the sea. They're going to say, look, if you want to be here, this is it. Background checks, learn how to speak English. What is your trade? Are you a plumber, a carpenter, a mechanic? Because you're not sitting around in shopping centers, scratching yourself and looking at tracksuits and just going on Instagram, taking selfies of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there will be many of these people that will contribute to the country by, you know, working a sweat up and getting into the society, learning English, because you know every single person that's going to land is not going to be evil, but there's a lot of them there that are just planted. And that's going to go in a whole different avenue. But here's the best analogy that I've found for your audience. As more and more, I don't know, I was going to say effed up things happen in the world. You know, the average Joe and Susan are sitting at home watching television. And then it'll come on and it'll say, okay, we've decided that we're going to do away with all of the education program, and we're going to start talking to your kids about how to touch themselves when they're 4 years old. We're going to legalize drag queens. We're going to, you know, take your kids down to the local library, and they're going to see striptease shows of a man pretending to be a woman. And it's those moments where people are sitting in front of the TV when they go, what WTF? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah. And this whole journey over the last 4 years has been for the sheep to wake up and suddenly notice that there is a door open. They can leave the pen. They don't have to stay with everybody else. Because the more that the average Joe and Susan are screaming and throwing things at the television as they're trying to spoon feed you left-wing rubbish, garbage, about re-educating your children and 10-minute sisters at 15-minute cities, buy an electric car, gasoline's terrible, climate control is going to kill us all. What's that little Swedish girl who's about 16? She's now an expert. Bill Gates, he's a doctor. You know, they've just turned everything round. And then don't even get started on all the satanic shit that's going on in the music industry, in the film industry. And as more and more people are screaming at the TV, swearing and angry, this really is an ingenious plan because they've never woken up without it. And this is
definitely. Well, thanks to you, Dave. They certainly will be waking up, and we're so grateful for this opportunity to chat to you. We're going to stop chatting to you now, but we are definitely going to talk about a date for the barbecue to coincide with our wedding in Scotland, maybe. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we really
thank you very much. My pleasure.
Namaste.
Namaste.